Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Track. The Supercross season might be over, but we are going to keep bringing you these episodes. They've been a lot of fun. This one's going to be great. I have a lot of things I want to talk to Jeremy Albrecht about. The hard part is we're following up on the Lyle Lovett interview. So, J-Bone, you got some big shoes to fill. Lyle, hey, you look good right now, but you should have seen Lyle's backdrop, man. He outdid you on that one.
I'm sure. I don't have that on him. That's for sure.
He's older
than me, right? He's a lot older than me. That's why I got time.
You have time. J-Bone, this is going to be fun. Hey, these episodes, they're on YouTube. We've done a bunch of them now, and they range all over the place. But you are going to be fun because you cover so many different things. You are an ex-mechanic, championship mechanic, team manager, a TV star, and a moto dad. Bro, moto dad?
Yeah, I tried to steer that one away, but, we all love it. I still ride myself, and every time I crash, I'm like, why am I doing this? But yeah, once it's in your blood, we have no choice. We love it.
Well, let's start.
Even when you're laid up in the hospital, you still want to ride. You're just like, when can I get back on?
Every time, right? Every time I've been in the hospital, I literally am thinking, when? We're talking 2 months or 3 months, and what race will be like that first weekend?
That's right. Exactly. That's what everybody thinks. Every time you get hurt, how much longer do I have? 4 weeks, 6 weeks? What are we looking at?
Every time. Hey, so let's start with Moto Dad, because that's fresh. Weren't you this weekend?
Yeah, we raced this weekend. The kids went south of the border. It's funny. I've sent my riders there, but I have never been. A lot of these tracks, Club MX, we've been going to, and like it's weird for me to think that my kids are riding those tracks because that's where I sent our pro riders to. But they're getting better and they're doing good. They got some hole shots, and yeah, it's neat to watch that. Actually, after being on TV last week, people recognize me. I don't know if they knew before and now they have something to say, because what are they going to say? Hey, you're the guy that used to run a team. That's like not really that cool. So the same people I've been seeing at all these races, because we did do Daytona Amateur Day. Now that I have time, obviously hitting a lot more races, and it's making my kids happy. It actually is. It's fun to go see where it started. For me, I raced as a kid, and that's my whole thing. We did baseball. I tried to get my kids drum lessons. I wanted to be like you. They did some, I had them at the School of Rock trying to, learn other instruments. And I do want them to ride motorcycles. I just don't want them to think they're doing it for a living like you did. I really want to steer it. Let's do it for fun, so you can ride like me your whole life with your family. That's more the direction I would like to see it go. Obviously, none of us ever know. I didn't plan on this. Every person always that you talk to says, don't do what I did, pick a different career. That's everything. I don't care if you own a restaurant, you race motorcycles, you're in a band, whatever it is, you would always say, you need to do something else. Don't do what I did. But we all did what we did because we love it. So I decided to quit fighting it, right? My kids love it. Whether they're good or bad or gonna make a career, that's up to them. I just decided that I should let them do what they like. And it's hard as a parent because we know the ups and downs of the sport. The injury part we were just talking about, how expensive it is the other part. But we're doing it, and I'm good with it.
I'm racing this weekend. I'm taking evidence.
There you go. That's right. Yeah, you remember I actually sold you our old Pro Track trailer. Do you remember that?
My brother and
I had Albrecht Racing back in the day, and I think you were on Pee Wee's when you guys bought it from us. So it's kind of funny. The old Pro Track trailer went to you.
Yeah, so I became friends with the Antonez family real quick, and then we needed a trailer. Yeah. They were like, "Hey, we know someone who's got one." So I have when I was like 6 or 7, had that trailer forever, and to think that was you and Joel's is just
it's pretty funny actually.
Crazy.
It's funny how small this sport is. It's pretty cool.
It is. It's so big. It presents big, but it's like so interconnected. Just the people that you meet along the way. Like you said, now you're going to the local track and everybody gets to talk to you because you were just on TV the week before. So now they're connected to you. It's a weird.
Yeah.
There is some integrated relationships in the sport that go back. I mean, I just hung out with Fro this weekend. I just hung out with Fro.
I saw that.
Went to the after party. Then, dude, it's just a crazy world we are in, this dirt bike world. Hey, all right, let's get into a bunch of different things. Normally, I like to start in the beginning and work to now, but let's just talk about what just happened. Because, dude, you and I both had a really, really cool weekend last weekend. So, first off, I mean, how was the experience for you? I mean, actually take us through the process for you, how it became about, and then just what you thought of the weekend. Because, dude, it was awesome, I thought.
Well, what was funny is I was on the Pulp Show the week before, and they asked me if I would do TV. And I said, no, I don't think so. I don't ever see why they would call me or why I would ask, because that's the truth. Like, it's not something that well, again, you would never ask for that because then you're going to get critiqued, right? So I don't know if it's something I really would want to do, but everyone wonders. It's just like, I tell my wife all the time that I think I could be, I could sing if I had singing lessons. Like, if I would be on TV and do that if I had lessons, but I didn't have any lessons. So they called up, Chris Bond called me. I saw their phone ring and I was at work sitting in my office. I was like, that's weird. I wonder why he's calling, because I haven't talked to him since last year, really. And he just said, hey, what's up? You know, you've been watching the races. I said, yeah, honestly, I've been watching all of them. Been watching on the Peacock app and stuff like that. He asked me what I thought. I told him, and then he goes, well, hey, we're in a little bit of a bind. We might move Daniel in the booth. Would you be wanting to do something like what his role was? I said, I don't know. If you think I could do it, I'll give it a shot. It's really up to you. Like, I will try. And he said, yeah, I think you could do it. I think you would do good, and you would give a different perspective than what we've had. And I would like to see how it goes. So I said, sure, let me ask Coy, make sure he's cool with it. So I went and asked Coy, and he goes, yeah, go for it. For sure. So I called him back. I said, all right, I'm in. And he goes, well, now I got to go get it approved through NBC and Feld. And I already told Coy I got the job, right? So I'm a little bit like, oh, shoot, I'm going to jump the gun here. Look like an idiot. Go tell them they didn't want me. So I just kept quiet it probably took about 3 or 4 days to get the approval. And then he finally said, yeah, you're going to do it. They'll call you and book you a ticket and stuff. So I had about a week to think about it, which is probably good, because any more time, I'd probably drive myself crazy trying to, just think of too much stuff. So I did make some notes about things that I would like to talk about because I didn't really at first know how many things we'd talk about. And then Chris said, write down like 4 or 5 ideas. So I wrote 7 down just in case.
Yep.
And then, and then we talked on the phone, and then I ended up talking to you on the phone, and then we were all hoping it was going to go great. And it actually did. Like, I came home and watched it. And even when I was doing it live, there was things I wish I added or said more, which you probably do every week. There's all these things
every time.
That's every should have said that. Yeah. So the good thing is there's more for next time, if there's a next time.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. It was way different than I expected. But what I liked about it is that it takes as much to do that show as it does to put a race team together. And that's what no one realizes. Like, I've been around that TV stuff, obviously just doing interviews and seeing the guys. I see the trucks. I've been in the trucks. But to know the calls that go ahead of time, the way that, everyone's kind of given their input between you and Will and Ricky and Bond, all the different people beforehand, because you don't know how the show is going to go once it goes, but you can at least talk about things. So that was neat to see. And then to see all the things that he does, hear the producer in one ear, hear the show in the other ear, see it on a screen. Like, it was neat to see a whole different side of racing. And it takes as much work. Just like when I was a mechanic, people would ask me what I do during the week. Do I have another job? When there's so much that goes into it, no one has another job. That is it. The race day is the easy day. And I would say probably even for, besides you and I, there was a lot of work going up to it, but Chris Bond, there's a ton of work. Like, that whole producing side is a lot. And that, all the stuff they put up, like, you hear them say, put up the graphic, like lots of neat stuff. You're like, whoa, I never thought. So like, when I watch a show this time, the last race, it was cool because I know more of what goes on now. So it's actually kind of neat. It's no different than you meet a baseball player, a football player, a motorcycle racer, and you're happy. Now you have a reason to pay attention to that team or that person. Like I got to watch the show different. So it was neat. And this is the first year I got to watch Supercross, even as a fan, to be honest. Like every time I watch my guy or the riders that we have on the track, because I don't want to be the guy that was watching the leaders. Like I would get mad on the radio when my guys on my team would be talking about the lead. I'd be like, you're watching the wrong race. Like I want them to be there for our guys. Because I want, when you go back to truck, they say, hey, did you see me almost crash right there? I don't want to say, oh, I was watching Cooper Webb. You know what I mean? I flew everybody there. Yeah, we flew everybody there to help those guys. So I finally got to, I get to watch it and not care, no stress. I do love the stress too, obviously, but it's kind of nice to have a year of none of that, to be honest. So I had all that stuff. I had fun.
It's funny. It's funny how you say the preparation is like a race team, because tell me if you agree with this. We prepare and we communicate and we do all these things, but then when the gate goes down, it's all reactive. We can't predict. Oh, yeah. So it's like we prepare, and then the gate goes down, and now you're like the whole world changes. And that's what I think is cool about this is, as much as you want to prepare, we still had to get caught up in the moment and go. And I know for me, watching it back, you in the main event down with the pit boards, and we were watching this battle, we're watching all these changes. And didn't you feel like that wasn't scripted? That was like, dude, you were just reacting to the moment. And that's a completely different side than the stuff you did on camera, which was prepared. It was where, so you get to do both. You get to kind of like put these prepared pieces out, but then you got to be so reactive the whole time that sometimes your notes just fly out the window.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and there was things that changed even the day we did it, right? Because Craig crashed, that changed a lot of things. The relay or whatever ran late, so you had to intro it. Like I was listening to all these things, and I was like, man, that puts a lot on you. And then hearing all the things that changed for you, and then, all right, Will, what's funny? So they said, Will, you're going to do this one interview, but then you still did it. So I don't know if you caught that, but they were going to change the whole thing. And they must have went in your ear and said, you're now doing it, which the only thing I heard in my ear is you were not doing the interview. They were going to will do it because they're running out of time. Like things changed the whole time.
It's gnarly. Like, and in the booth for me, it was even like segments. Hey, we're not going to do that piece. We're going to move that to segment 7. Let's do 4 now. And I'm like shuffling notes.
Yeah. You're like, this paper's over here.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but when the race was going on, it felt, it was just like, because that's what we know. So it was
the race is definitely easier. Yeah. And that's honestly like racing is cool like that. Like once you focus in on the race time, and I do think that's where I could be better, is just like talking about what I know, which I wasn't relaxed enough to do that. I was so worried about blowing it, not just for me. I don't care. I felt bad for Chris for asking me to try it out. So I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to help, what you were doing in the booth, and Ricky. I mean, all of us are friends, the whole industry, really. Like that's what was cool for me to go there, was to say hi to everybody. It was cool. They all let me go talk to them, which I probably wasn't supposed to. I did it with a mask the whole time, which everyone gets mad about the mask, but that's why I had to do the mask. So it's crazy times. I was happy to see people. I mean, really that I was more worried about letting other people down than myself. I don't care if I look like an idiot doing it. I have felt like I have done a lot of things already. I can't be good at lots of things. I got to pick and choose. And I didn't know if I'd be good at that. I could do an interview, no problem, because you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it. And honestly, which gets me in trouble sometimes, but I will always answer it. Honestly, no comment if I shouldn't say something. But that was definitely to try to think about if I could carry the show, if I would have enough stuff to talk about. That was my worry. And again, when I was done, I was like, dang it, I should have said these other 5 things. But you just got to go with what comes out, right?
That's every time. And that'll happen every time. I guess I've now done the floor, I don't know how many years now. I still, after every race, I'm like, man, I didn't even say that the way I meant to. I left out one word that would have changed the whole thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I honestly believe that the day that goes away, you're done. Like if the day you're not critical on yourself, you're out, because you're just going to go backwards. And that's just part of it. So if you ever feel good about it, you're
yeah,
done.
if you ever felt like you couldn't do better or know more, it's probably not entertaining anymore, right? Like our whole thing is we want to give information. So if you're wanting to give more and we have more, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it was cool. I thought it was awesome. The response was great. For me personally, when Bondo said this was going to happen, I was like, dude, we are going to get to see this other side that I think that fans really want to know. They want to know the team side, the bike side. And I don't have the experience in that. So when I'm in that role, I bring my own kind of thing to it. And I was like, this is so good. We're desperate for this this pit information, like, and the things that the teams go through. And because there's, you know how it is, it's gnarly in the pits all night long. And we don't get to see that enough. So I thought the pick was awesome. I know the response was good. Our chemistry, I thought for you having to do something brand new on the same night that I had to do something brand new, that Bondo is now juggling 2 new people.
Oh yeah, it had to be stressful for him. Yeah, no, we did good. And the cool part is it could be even better. Like if we knew we're in that role more, it would be obviously a lot easier. Yeah,
I 100% agree, and that's just part of the process. It's repetition. There you are. Let me guess. Did you get a text?
Sorry, I got a call. It was Ralph Shaheen. I had to decline it. How funny is that? Ralph Shaheen hasn't called me forever.
Oh my gosh,
that's who was calling me. The cool part was Emig was texting me during the event. Emig was texting me, and I'm like, "Hey, let me know what I'm doing wrong. Like, I'll take your advice for real, like real stuff." He didn't give me any, which was good. Yeah,
that's awesome. I guess last thing on that, like, let's just do a quick thought on that race. I mean, what did it feel like for you being in that role and watching the Roxon thing, the Webb, the Mooskin, the Shimoda deal? Oh, the Shimoda deal. That was so awesome. What did it feel like for you now getting to watch how many of these as a fan, but now you're on the floor and you're performing while, like, dude, one of the sickest nights of the year went down.
Yeah, it was actually for us, you and I, what helped it be even better, which again, if I was more relaxed, it would have been even better. But to have like all those things happen, right? Roxon crash, not in the lead, because that would have been, if it like that last one, that was cool, but it was way better the drama that we had. Like even Barsha crashing, his bike messing up, Craig, all the drama. The only thing I wish is Craig would have been able to ride to keep the points a little closer, because that would have helped us have more to talk about. Because that was the only bummer for me is, oh dang it, now the buildup of a championship is not really there. Right. Because then it was just like last weekend. Really, they all did better than they needed to, and that's usually like when it's tighter, they ride tight. Like back when Bradshaw didn't win the championship to, I think it was Stanton maybe. Yeah, like he rode so terrible because the pressure gets to you. Like Emig, when he won his first one, he could barely get the position he had to get. Like you're like on the bubble, and it's like you might not win. Like Cooper went and won. Like that does, and he was not even in the lead. That's what was cool for me to watch. Because the funny thing is, I was at a race, and it was on late because we were at the East Coast. So I tried to watch, and I only made it through the heats because I'm getting old, I guess, and working on bikes too much. So I was tired and I fell asleep. And the next day I checked social media. I didn't want to, and I saw that Cooper won. And then I came home and we watched it. And then I'm like watching it, thinking, man, he was way back, and Roxon was in the lead. How'd he blow it? And then to watch him just get bumped out and go all the way back like he did, like he got the pressure to him, because that was not, for how good Roxon is. Like these guys, it's crazy. Like even James right here behind me, he was so good, but this sport is so mental that all it takes is one little thing to change, and it's weird how you can be that good and you fall apart. Like it makes no sense. Like every Monday I'd have to tell James how good he is and convince him that he is awesome, but he doesn't. And they have their parents telling them and everything, and they need reassurance all the time. It's super weird. And just like Cooper, he didn't win at the beginning. It took, a couple things to go his way, and then you can't stop him. But Roxon had it going his way, and you can stop him. It just is weird, the differences in the mental game. Like I don't know. It obviously, people want to get in and be the mental coach because it's obviously the best thing there is going, but you connect with people or not. Like, you can't just get a guy. It has to be a guy that you trust, even that as a mechanic or a team manager or a friend, because they all get so much input all the time. Like Roxon has probably 50 people. I mean, even fans tell you on social media. and you know, the crazy part is a lot of it's not wrong, but you have to hear it from the right person, just like your parent. Like, you know, like Buddy is a great rider coach. I tell my kid the same thing and he'll listen to Buddy over me. Like, I get it, but you have to have it from the right person. And I don't know Roxon's deal, because he's obviously the baddest dude on a bike. Smooth, the way he rides. Like, Cooper's like more aggressive, but not Barsha aggressive. So like, you take those three and they're all completely different, which is what makes our sport so cool, right? Like back in the day when Ricky won every race, like, that's boring. It's cool for Ricky, but it suck as the announcer. Like, oh, Ricky he won every moto and outdoors and won every Supercross. Like, how is that cool? Like, this, Jeremy, the neat thing about this is you don't know who's going to win. It's awesome.
J-Bone, I do the TV for Arena Cross. Kyle Peters swept.
Yeah, he won every one. Yeah.
Series. I had to call every main event. He won every one. It was torture.
Yeah. Yeah, like he won something, right? Fall down, or which he did a little bit, but he's still that good.
He lost one heat race, and I jumped out of my chair. Oh my gosh, he finally lost. It was like the one fun race I had the whole thing, because he just dominated. And it's I know what you're saying. That's what makes the sport so fun. But when you talk about the mental side, it's just like the TV thing. We can prepare all we want, but then it happens and you got to be reactive. And like, I'm sure Roxon has worked on a lot of different things before, but then in those moments, things can still knock you down. It is the most unbelievably reactive sport in the world in every way, physical, mental, emotional. It's
it all happens at once. Like Cooper, all he did is go in on him and gave him a little elbow, and it probably made him mad. And then he couldn't ride. Like, it just flustered him. So then he's like trying to get going, and then someone else will run it on him. And then he's really mad because now he's got past a third. And it just seemed like and you know how it is, right? When you get past, it just totally messes you up. And the crazy part is he was riding good before that. Like, he could ride that good again, but they just, it's nuts. Like, if he rewatches it, he's probably really mad.
But like you said, though, everyone's different, which makes it fun, because when Cooper gets hit and gets mad, he gets better. Like, everyone's going to react to things differently. You know what I mean? And that's what makes the sport so crazy, because you start bumping, one of the guys might collapse and the other guy might just get warmed up.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was excited to watch the Barsha Anderson battle, because the two like most aggressive guys. Like, that was the one I was, that was the one I was liking. And that could have went on. That would have kept going on. That'd been the only cool thing to keep talking about.
Oh,
but obviously Anderson was out, so that didn't really help.
Okay, but back to TV, and now you probably see this. The responsibilities that are on Bondo are insane, because we're watching some cool stuff for 7th, but now all of a sudden the lead's tightening up. It's like, what do we do? And then you go to the 2 box, and then everyone gets mad at that because you can't see. So you're trying to go back and forth.
We need a 4 box, I guess.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, in this sport, you need 22 boxes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, everyone gets mad, right? They didn't show this, and you showed too much of the leader. Or if you show what they want, then they're like mad. Well, how you didn't show the guy in the lead? You can't win. I mean, that's what was neat to see. Got to see that there is a lot of preparation, more than everyone realizes, even to how you guys were going to talk about the series we were talking about in the, before the race. Like, do we talk about Roxon blowing it or Cooper, killing it? You can do it either way. How do we want this to go? And everyone agreed Roxon is the one that's been the fastest guy. He's just blowing it, letting Cooper get in there. So no one looks at it like that, but they all think you just say whatever. You end up doing that. You end up having to do whatever you think at the time and on the spot. And I think the on the spot stuff obviously comes across better anyway. And that's what that race was great for all of us, is there was so much happening to talk about. It was pretty cool. And for me to go back and watch it, though, I definitely know a lot of areas I could do better, which, like we said, is good. But like, I tried to do what he said, talk a little longer in my segments. And then if I'm on the track, make it quick. Cause I had people tell me, you were like super fast but that's what they told me to do, because you got to get back to the racing.
Get in and get out. You never know. Because the worst thing is when you get into something, all of a sudden a crash or a pass happens on TV, and you're the one, and you're like, get me out of here.
And everyone's like, then they all rag on us. Daniel and Jeremy were talking too much, and we didn't get to see what we wanted to see. You can't win.
It's brutal. Hey, let me ask you this though, and this will tie into your former role as a team manager at JGR. What was your thoughts then as a team manager with the TV crew? We're looking for access. We want to know things from you or the rider or whatever. So take me back in time to those days and just what you thought about being on that side with the TV crew coming at you, looking and wanting things from you.
Well, we were always better about that than most teams because we were funded by a lot of different sponsors. Not at the end, obviously, but we had a lot of people that we were trying to please and try to make happy. And I personally was good with it because TV, we know is important, but there's some teams, like Kawasaki, Honda, Yamaha's different now that Star is running it, but they look at things different. Like to them, they think their job, only thing it is to win a race. So the TV, they don't care. The magazines, they don't really care. They're there to please the fans and win. And that's what they're doing. So, everyone takes a different approach to what is important. Like I remember early on at Kawasaki, Stewart originally thought that they didn't want to do any of the mainstream media stuff. They want to do outside industry stuff because they thought that's where the money is, which is true. Mm-hmm. But then Bruce at Kawasaki said, well, what you don't realize is the motorcycle industry is where we sell motorcycles. So that's what we care about as a company. So if you want to tell me if you want me to break it out at what is important salary wise, you will be surprised that the core fan is what we're paying you for. Because they all hate the dealer signings, when they got to go sign autographs, which they don't have to worry about for a little bit here. But, those could be changed also. Like everything's going to need to change. But I just think everyone looks at it different. And until you're not doing the job and realizing that the TV is cool to do, being at the races, you should be excited to be there because you could not be there like myself. But you take things for granted. Like when I worked for James, I don't even know how many races we won. It was a ton. I mean, it won so many races, you get second and you're mad. It's not, you expect to win every time. And then when I did go work at JGR and we didn't win all the time, it doesn't feel that good. Like you want to get back to that, but it's not easy to win. I say that, but actually when you are winning, it feels easy because everything's working together. Like I bet you Cooper feels like it was easy to win, but it's really not. It's only easy because when you're winning, you believe in everything you're doing. You believe in every person in your corner. You believe in everyone on the team. When you're losing, you want to try to figure out why you're not winning. So you're picking apart different things each week and trying to change it and tweak it. And that's where it gets pretty tough and mentally messed up, that if you don't figure it out, you keep second guessing every different piece and it gets worse and worse. And yeah, it's hard to come out of that. And I think that's probably what Roxon does a little bit, because I even hear him in some of his interviews and he'll say that his bike wasn't going through the whoops, the way he wanted to, but he hit him killer every time till that one time. And then you crash and you don't hit him like that again, but you did it. How many laps before that?
Right.
You just had one mistake. You probably could have hit it 15 more times. Perfect. But he chose not to, and he lost the race because of it. But it could be because his bars are bent. But after you crash, everything changes. That that's what makes it so awesome. Because if he got up and just won, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So
storylines, man, how they develop.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned how all the riders are so different. You as a team manager, you had a lot of riders, 250 guys that are young. You have 450 guys that are older, more experienced. I mean, you had Lopes, you had Brayton. We're talking young kid coming in. You had Brayton, who's just like a seasoned, mature vet. What was it like in those years? And how did you approach dealing with those different personalities, different ages, different skill sets, different emotional outlook? How do you balance so much different, especially when you have the big teams? Because you had a couple of years where you guys had a big roster. How did you juggle that?
You just try to learn every person really the best you can, and you do have to deal with all of them differently. Just like employees, you have to treat every mechanic different somewhat, just how you talk to them. Yeah, I wouldn't say it worked for every one of them how I did it, but I tried to really do each one how I think it needs to be done. And when, just like what I was saying earlier, when you're trying to figure out why it's not working, you keep trying different things. Like if it's not working, then I would try a different strategy. And sometimes I would have coy. So we would try to be the nice guy. Then we try to be mad. And then we try to get coy to be really gnarly and try to figure out yeah, we try to figure out what brings it out. Right. Cause that's what they do in football, and that's what they do in most sports. So, we try to always learn what is good for each guy, because not everyone responds to getting yelled at. Not everyone responds to being nice. So obviously we didn't figure that out enough. I needed more of that. But the one thing I will say is from the beginning, every person we hired, we talked about all the things that could happen. So we talked about all the good things, all the bad things, all the negative things that can happen, the positive things. And we knew, and Coy knew, that's why he was always okay with it, is we knew Lopes was a young kid and had the talent, but had a ways to go. But we didn't have to pay him a ton of money either. So we were all helping each other at that point. So that's kind of more how I looked at it, even for Brayton. Like, we're here to help you and work with you through all of this. And I want it to feel like we're all part of the team. We're all on the same team together. Where a lot of times it's not like you're just riding our bike. Like, I didn't want it to be like that. We probably tested way too much to try to make them know that it's whatever they want. Which, again, that was one thing I was going to bring up on the show. We have so many options. You can confuse no matter how good you are, because it's endless what these teams can do. It's unbelievable. You can test and retest forever and put different combinations together. It's a never ending thing, because if you work on a shock, then you got to go work on a fork. You work on the fork, then you got to work on the engine. Then you change the engine, you got to go back and work on the shock. And then you got to go work on the fork. And then you got to try all the chassis things. And then all the triple clamp offsets, you got to try with every set of suspension and every engine setting. It's like you could go around in circles your whole life and get spun out if that's what you want to do. And Chad Reed, as an example, knew so much stuff that he came in with a whole different amount of knowledge, and then added to what we knew. And that just made the testing years worth. Like, we could still be testing right now, learning. Like, that's what's so hard about this. And it's all the combination of how you simplify and learn the rider. And really, like a lot of teams now, like KTM, they'll have a test rider. So Ryan Marias will go testing. So you don't wear the rider out and confuse them. You only give them the good stuff, because it is confusing. And not all of them are good at it. They'll tell you different things. They'll be like, hey, this thing is terrible. It's way too stiff, when really it's not. It's way too soft, but they don't know what it's doing. And you don't know where they learned it. My new thing, like if I had a team again, what I said, I think, which hopefully no one steals my idea, like every racer has a suspension guy they love. Every single one of them. I say hire a rider and hire that suspension guy. And then, because that's who they connect with. You can't have one suspension guy that works for everybody, because they all think there's a favorite, and they all don't trust somebody. They all have somebody they used since they were a kid, or they had success at one point. Like Cooper has Ryo right now. I bet you think Ryo's the best suspension guy in the world. And he is very good. But if he goes to a different team, you can't take Ryo with him. So he has to trust a new guy. And then when he doesn't have success, he calls Ryo at night and is going to be getting information from him, what worked for him. But it's a whole different bike, so it won't work. So all it does is get everyone spinning. Then the suspension guy's bummed that he's having to take direction from a guy on a different team. And it's a yard sale. And it happens all the time. everywhere, in every
Wow.
sport. It doesn't matter what sport, whatever. Everyone has people you trust. That's probably in football when they fire the whole team. That's why they do that. The coach, they all have people they trust. They get rid of all those dudes and they start over. And
like the coordinators, right? Offensive coordinator, they just wipe them out, start fresh.
They all go with the head coach all has their people. So you get rid of the head coach, all those guys go with him to wherever he's going. And then the new guy brings in his people. And that's kind of like what I did when I started the team. I came there and then hired the people that I wanted to hire. So it's pretty cool. That's what was exciting to me to do this role, was I got to start from the ground up. Now at the time, I didn't know it was going to be this difficult, even though just like TV, I knew there's a lot to it, but until you do it, you don't really know. Like I used to be like, when I was the mechanic, I'd be like, man, how hard could it be? Like if somebody wants to ride here, you just sign them. Like, how hard is that? Well, it takes a budget, and then you got to have the bike they want. You got to have all the different pieces all have to fit, way more than it sounds. But I remember when I wasn't the guy doing it, it seems easy, right? Like how hard could his job be? All he does is hire somebody that wants to come here. And if he don't want to come here, just pay him more money. Can't be that difficult. But there's like, it sounds easy.
Simple.
Yeah. But there's nothing simple in racing.
So J-Bone, I almost moved to North Carolina. You know that because your wife was my realtor, and it didn't happen, which doesn't mean it won't forever. I really liked my time out there, but I know that when you moved out there, it wasn't all great right away. It took a little bit of a time to adapt, but you see now, like with Star Racing Yamaha moving to the goat farm, you guys moved out there. You see some of this little bit of movement around where teams are going where it's best for them. Now that you're on this side of it, and you did all that, you're part of that team, it was there. What's your thoughts on this sport and just the general consensus that SoCal is where it's at, but now you see it starting to move around a little bit? What's your thoughts on the sport in general and some of this movement with these teams?
Well, when I came here, I bought into Coy's idea right from the beginning. Like I listened to it. I knew it would be difficult, but what he was thinking, he was on to something, because like he was telling me before, like, how can you expect success when you only see the guy on the weekends? And you can't. So you just leave it to them to do whatever, which, we had a trainer originally. We had him live here. We did all the things that now KTM is doing, really. It just took, it was probably 8 years after we did it, which I'm not saying they copied us, because that's not, it just, in the end, you look at like Coy looked at it, like in football, you train them because you're paying them. So you want them to be the best they can be and in shape and ready to play and do all those things. The only thing, if we had different, which he wanted to do, which the Nicoletti thing was, if we had a guy on the bench that could come in and you always knew someone could take your job, that's the only thing that makes you perform at the top all the time. Like if Roxon knew there was somebody as good as him ready to step in if he blew it, you wouldn't have seen him ride to 10th last week. He would have stayed on the podium for sure. But Roxon is so good that there's no one that can take his place. Like that's where our sport is very tricky. And you have to put up with things as a team, things you don't want to put up with, because there's only a few of them. And it's that way in car racing too. There's only a few guys that could drive that good. So you either work with them or not work with them. So it's people like to, again, say that part's easy too, but it's really not. Like, they might be difficult and you try to get them to see the team side, but in the end, if they want to be jerks and we need them to ride, and that's the best guy you can get, they're going to be there until you find a replacement. That's really how all of it works.
Right.
So it's a touchy subject.
Yeah, I like that model too, the accountability model. And the hard part I have to imagine for you was that these riders all have families and preferences. So you're like constantly fighting them on this model when they might want to be in SoCal for a reason, or be in Florida for a reason, or go home to Minnesota for the summer. You know what I mean? So, I mean, was that difficult to work with?
Well, as we got down the road, we weren't as rigid. So it was a little easier because I could let them go where they wanted to go. At first, you know, it was Coy's idea. It was early, and I think he wanted to set a precedent. So I think it was kind of like, you know, maybe a little too rigid at first. His trainer, he only trains a certain way. Like Coy still swears that your body doesn't know if you're riding a motorcycle or playing football. Like that's a bunch of crap, which he has a good argument. Like your body doesn't know. So like Hansen, he was our first guy. You know, he called me probably 15 times, and I laughed the first 10 thinking there's no way I'm hiring this guy. And then he's a nice, you know, Hanny, he's a good talker, nice guy, said all the right stuff. After like 10 times, I'm thinking, and I'm getting through my list. Maybe it doesn't sound that crazy. He does have the talent. And that's how he got on the team. But to go back to it, now to have Star go to Florida, I think it's a good move. I think our team moving here was, it was a great thing, bringing the family here. It actually helped us be a family more because you move away. So the only thing you have is your family. Yeah. So you don't have any distraction. You don't have any other friends yet. It's you and your wife and your kids, and that's all you know. And pretty much at that point, you get to repick all your friends. You don't like them, you don't hang out with them anymore.
That's right. That's the best example I've ever heard for moving. You get to start over and make
you start
new
over
friends,
and you still keep all your old ones.
The ones you want.
And you just Instagram, you watch the ones you don't want. And that's the one bad thing about social media is you feel like you know what your friends are doing, so you don't call them. Because if you and I could not see you for 5 years, and if I follow you on social media, I know what you're doing. So next time I see you, it feels like we just saw each other 2 weeks ago. It's been 5 years. Like, hey, see you racing, man. That's cool. See you doing this. You went on a date here. It's pretty weird, the world that we live in now. It used to be you had to call somebody to know what they're doing. Now we don't have to call anyone. So I still try to stay in touch with people because I'm not a huge fan of social media only. But yeah, it's I think for the whole industry, it doesn't have to be in SoCal. That was the argument when we started. The only thing that is a problem is weather in Florida, and here it does rain a lot, but there should be no argument you're not good in the mud.
Yeah.
What's they don't even have to wash their own bike. Like they could ride, I'd ride in the mud every day if I didn't have to clean it. So there really shouldn't be any real reasons. Like that's what Lopes, he would go ride in the mud anytime you'd let him, because in Brazil it rains all the time. Like for him, it was like no problem living here. But when Brayton first came here, he hated it.
Oh yeah.
Such a big shock. Wanted to be in California. Argue with me that he needed to be pacing himself with the other guys, because him just with Grant, you know, they didn't really know where they were at. You know, it's not, but if you're not mentally believing in what you're doing, it's not going to work.
They got to
that
buy
again
in.
Comes to the whole thing. Yeah, you have to, but you're not going to get buy-in until you have proof. Like they wouldn't be sending all the people to Baker's factory if there was no proof and it didn't work. The only reason everyone will buy in and go do it is because Dungy won there, Cooper's winning there. Yeah. Like, you know, if it wasn't for that, it's hard to sell it, right? You're going to come here and work every day like it's a job, when that's not how most people, if they could get away with doing it easy, that's what they would choose. Go ride when I want. Maybe I feel like going to the lake today, but that's not how it is. Like I bet you there's not that many days they get to go do what they want, which in the end you get results like that. And that's kind of where we were trying to head with it, but we had a lot of pushback because it was early. And I think that it's cool to watch other teams do it now, and it works. It just helps me feel better that we were on the right track. And then we actually stopped doing a trainer right when everybody else was doing it. Like Star has one with Swanepoel, and they've had one quite a while, but you know, Baker's factory, they have him doing all the KTM guys. So it's needed. I think that the only next thing is each team having their own mental coach guy. I think will be the next thing. Obviously, that's all we talk about is the mental toughness. And
hey, it's kind of funny that the two biggest topics are always suspension and mental.
Oh yeah,
get a suspension guy that works and get a mental guy for your guy.
That's true.
But then the worst part is there's still like 15 guys out there that are unbelievable. So you're still going to end up being the 15th guy one night. You're going to be like, fire the suspension guy, fire the mental coach.
Oh yes, get another guy. We got to get the guy Cooper's using. That's who they get right now. Only one guy can win. So it makes it hard. And trying to be a team like Star with that many guys winning it's got to be pretty tough. Because it's hard, like like you were asking earlier about having a big team. Like that's the hardest part is to try to keep each guy to feel like we care about them the same. It doesn't matter if you're Chad Reed or Justin Hill or Enzo Lopes or Kyle Peters. He was on our team. And trying to give them all the same amount of time when, there's some that want more time, like a Chad Reed wants a lot of time. So it's and you have a guy like Enzo that'll ride anything. So it's not fair to him that he just rides whatever. And that's the hardest part, is the balance of trying to keep it fair. Just because that guy wants to test doesn't mean that that's the right thing to do as a team. Even the guy that says he's happy, we still got to work with him also. So I'd say that's the hard balance with a big team, really. And I felt like we did it well, not perfect all the time. Like I say that because Chad Reed did take a lot of the time away from a lot of people. And we finally had to look at it and go, we're going to have to give you some days, and then we got to give days to other people, because he'll test every day.
He loves it.
It's like, I think that's what he was hoping for a future, really. And it's not a bad idea. We would just have to have enough money to pay for someone to develop. And then when you're developing, you're spending money because you're making new stuff. And then you need a whole development team for Chad Reed, to be honest, because he's a thinker. He's good.
And again, you got to generate a lot of products, because he's going to go, nope, don't like that. And you're like, got to make another one. You're going to spend a lot of money on generating. We
did it with Stewart too. We had so many things made that we never even got to test. Like we were making stuff like every week, just whipping stuff out. And then we had so much stuff, and then he's already over that and on to something else. And we made all this stuff, and we're like, but you didn't even try that. Well, I don't want to try that anymore. It's like we just jumped through hoops and made all these new triple clamp offsets and all these linkages and all this stuff, and didn't even really try all of it.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. It's nuts.
One more question for you. And this goes back to the big team thing, but I'm going to ask this in a funny way, because you've had so many riders. If you could pick one rider that you would say 20 years from now, you'll still be friends with. I mean, obviously the hope is that you're close with as many people as possible, whatever. But if you were to say, of all your years as a team manager, all the guys that came to the roster, 20 years from now, who are you getting a beer with? Who's that guy you can still call? You don't got to look on social media and find out his life, because you calling him, you're talking. Who's a buddy of yours 20 years from now that was a rider? Weird question, huh?
It is, because there's a few of them. Like, honestly, the one that probably appreciates what we did for him the most is probably Enzo Lopes, to be honest. He, like, the whole time, and even to this day, like, still thankful that we gave him the opportunity, like, still will call me, still checks with me. I mean, even Freddie calls me all the time. Nicoletti, still buddies, but he's a little bit bummed that he didn't get to stay here, so he kind of probably blames me. But I would say him.
To be fair, Phil's bummed at everything.
I know. Yeah, that's right. It just fits, right? But like, he might be the one that I have a beer with in 20 years, because he'll be over it finally by then.
That's hilarious. Phil will be the one that wins the lotto, but he's bummed.
In 20 years, in 20 years, I'll let you know here if it's who it is.
All right.
But the good thing is, the good thing is, honestly, like, most of the guys still really good friends with. I still talk to Peters quite a bit. Jimmy D, Stewart again now, but we didn't for a little bit. But hopefully we're good after everything. But it was more me being bummed than him, really. I took it a little too personal. But it's hard. He left on different terms than some of the other guys.
Right. I would imagine, again, everyone's exit was different for different reasons.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Like, everything. You either didn't perform, you didn't get along with the bike, you didn't get along with the team. Whatever your circumstances were, you left for a reason. So it all probably came back to me because I didn't make them perform or whatever, but we ended it the best we could. And I don't feel like too many people hate me. There might be a few, but not a lot. Kind of like Vital with the TV deal, I guess. There's probably a couple on there. Can't make them all happy.
Well, in closing, what I will say, since we just did TV, we both had our debuts, and the response was positive. J-Bone, that's the best it'll ever be. It's all downhill from here.
That's right.
Anything you say from here on out will be just criticized to the end of time. So enjoy the positivity now, because it'll never be this good again.
Well, when this interview comes out, maybe we'll be on there.
Yeah, we'll get crushed for this interview.
Yeah,
so.
That's right.
Well, J-Bone, thanks for coming on Beyond the Track, man. I love doing these series, and when I knew you were next, I was like, we're gonna have a lot of fun. So thank you for coming on, and hope to see you very soon, and not through Instagram.
Yeah, that's right. Don't check me out. Call me.
I will.
All right.
Thanks for coming on, bro.
You got it.